What is on the up, guys? We are back here today for another Dokkan battle video. Today I thought we would sit down, more of a chill video, no gameplay, but look at some older summonable LRs that are currently in Dokkan before 350 million download celebrations, just to sort of see where we're at in terms of like how good LRs are, and then we can, after 350, look at this tier list, or at least I will look at this tier list, and see where these new LRs that will coming out then will fit into the tier list, and depending on how good they are. So remember, this is my opinion. If you disagree with me, that's fine. Leave your opinions in the comments, which ones you think should be switched around or whatever. And I'm in this tier list. I'm not just including passive and like super attack, but I also want to include leader skill. Obviously, leader skill isn't as big as a deal for like the original LRs. That just 4 key and then 100%. They're good for battlefield and stuff, but I'm more talking in reference to like the Dokkan Fest LRs like Gogeta's and the Go Bros, where they have like full on category leader skills. So I thought we'd just start. I guess we just start right here. Shout out to whoever made this tier list, by the way. Quickly, I don't know how you can look at that, but if you see like their name or wherever things are, like anywhere on this page, definitely check them out. I can't find where it is. So anyway, we'll just start off with Gohan. Gohan, I think, is a solid C unit, because even though I feel like on this tier list, C is sort of on the lower end. I think B is what C should actually be. But I think Gohan is on definitely the lower side of LRs. He's obviously really good for like the nuking event and for the shorter events, not like Super Battle Road, but for like Battlefield and Dokkan events where it's not really about defense but damage. So he's definitely usable in some areas, but I just don't see you running him in any optimal builds on any teams that like, especially like some of the newer teams that just have so much of a good, better roster or better characters they could put on instead of him. Even a lot of TURs these days you'd put on over Gohan, but he still is usable in some things. So that's why I think he's not near the bottom. I'm not going to spend too long on each character. I might mention what they're good at. I think Majin Vegeta, even though this might upset some people, is D tier because he does a lot of damage, but he doesn't do as much damage as Gohan. So, and he doesn't have like a nuking ability, and his damage is sort of on his 12 key, but when you get to his 18 key, his damage significantly drops, which I wish was the other way around, because that makes it so you can't really do nuking stuff with him, because it just limits you, because he doesn't get all like the Mega Colossal damage modifier, he just gets the Colossal, and it's just, I don't know, it just makes him kind of sort of a weird unit to use, but he's not optimal enough either in World Tournament, because he doesn't like do anything for anybody else, and because you doesn't need a lot of key for him to get his AoE attack. So actually, after I'm saying this, I think I might actually drop him down to A. Uh, because I just convinced myself from talking that he's not really useful anywhere, and maybe Dokkan events you could say. So it's not like he's useless, because all the LRs are sort of good, and they'll have decent defense, like above 60k most of the time. So it's still an okay unit, better than like some, but definitely non-usable in an optimal team build, I guess. Broly, I think I'm going to put him on the same level as Gohan, because even though you wouldn't probably run both of these in optimal builds for teams, they definitely both have their uses, with Broly being the best for World Tournament, and then obviously Gohan for the nuking events, so they're definitely usable still. Goku and Zamasu, I'm actually going to put in a rank higher, because they actually have decent defense in combination with like their healing, and they actually can do a bit of damage sometimes, and I don't personally have them on global, but I've seen lots of gameplay with them, and I actually wish I kind of had them. Um, but anyway, we'll move to Gohan and Goten. I think they're D tier. They're just, it's sort of like Majin Vegeta, except they can do more damage than Majin Vegeta in like some scenarios. So, and I think they have better links, in my opinion, even though they both don't really have good links. I just think he's better, slightly better than Majin Vegeta. Trunks, I'm also going to put in B tier, actually above Goku Black and Zamasu, because he can actually get decent defense, because he raises his defense for multiple turns on Super. So you can see him around 100k defense, and he also gets the crits in his passive, which sometimes don't like to activate, but it's still, you still have to factor it in even if you're unlucky with it. Bojack, I'm also going to slot in at B tier, just because he, I think by himself is better than all the older LRs, but because of his link set, we need another Bojack, like a Dokkan transforming Bojack that can link up with him. Because he has a bunch of really good links that can only be activated by like other characters that are realistically only in the Bojack squad, but we don't really have any other viable Bojack squad units. Only like the rares and the SRs. So that's why I guess a B. Super Saiyan 3 Goku, I think he's probably in C. He can do a lot of damage, same as like Gohan, but then he loses his defense. He's probably a bit more usable because he can choose to be either defensive or offensive, even though his defense isn't too good. It's still better than a lot of characters' defense. By the way, I'm also putting these in order in how good they are vertically as well. Not vertically, horizontally. So if Bojack's at the front, I think he's best in B tier, and etc. etc. So don't just look at it and be like, oh yeah, Broly's the same, like as he's the same as good as like Super Saiyan 3. I think Super Saiyan 3 is slightly better, but they're in the same realm of each other. So we go into the year 3s now. Actually, I'll do these two first because they're part of the older LRs. Beerus and Whis, I think they're the worst of the B tiers, just because they can be like the best, but just like Bojack, they struggle for key, and they're really good alongside the new Beerus, but like they're not usable in many areas, similar to Bojack. So and I think Bojack's slightly better, so I would put them at the end of B tier. Bardock now is he's sort of similar to Trunks, I'd say, in the fact that he can output a decent amount of damage and he has okay defense, but that's about it. So we'll sit him probably next to Trunks. I'll just look down here. So now we have the year 3 fusions. When they came out, obviously they're really dominant and they're still really good to this day. Like if they're on a banner, that's actually people get excited for them on banners, even though they're 2.5 years old now. On JP at least. So even though they're really old, they're still really, really good. I'm gonna chuck them in S tier because even though I don't think they're in the top 10, they still have really good defense. They have obviously the healing ability, which you can use in longer events, but even the shorter events like SBR, in the Fusion Super Battle Road and Portara, I found myself really using these guys as a tank within that stages. So that says something about how good their defense is, even when they're non-transformed. And when they're transformed in the longer events, obviously they're beasts and they're dominant. So definitely high tier LRs. Trunks and Mai. I think they're going to be the first A tier LR. Trunks and Mai, if you don't know how they work, they're like an okay unit that gets like basic attack and defense and stun chance and stuff, so good for SBR, but they don't get their full passive, which includes high dodging, unless they're versing specific enemies, which I believe is Future Saga. So on the Future Saga Super Battle Road, they're great. On like the Extreme Z area that came out for Goku Black Zamasu, or Zamasu Goku, I don't know, I can't remember that name, but they're really good situationally, and they're okay everywhere else. So I feel like, similarly to Whis and Bojack. Now moving on to the SSJ4s, which did come out last year for the year 4 anniversary, and I am going to put them both in S+. And you might be thinking, oh, Vegeta is whatever, like probably a lot worse than Goku, but I actually think that they're the same level, because if you guys have been looking at Dokkan content or even playing Dokkan content in Extreme Super Battle Road or just Super Battle Road in general, you might know that Vegeta is really, really good for Extreme Super Battle Road. Goku is really good for normal Super Battle Road and still for Extreme Super Battle Road, but Vegeta's is just so much better because of his starter turn defensive buff. But in longer events, Goku ends up having them higher defense because of how it multiplies, and he can get a defense raise in his 12 key. So I think in longer events, Goku's the better choice, but in shorter events, Vegeta's the better choice. And I feel like we're going to see this a lot in the tier list, where some units are equally good, but they're equally good in different areas. So even though Goku's in front, these two are both interchangeable. And same here, because I think Gogeta is better for shorter events, but Vegeta is better for longer events. So same thing for these two guys. Now moving on to Cell. I should have done Cell earlier, sorry, but I just didn't know why he's so far ahead of everyone else. I think he's C. No, I think he's D. I think he's No, with the Link level update, he is actually C because he's really good alongside the this cell down here, who we'll talk about later. He's really good, and he actually gets decent defense and outputs like over 3 million, and like he's pretty insane. Um, so I could move him even up to B, which I think I might do. So I think he's the worst B tier, like high C tier, like sort of like right here in the middle is where I put Cell, because he can be really good, and especially in the category Super Battle Roads, and I don't know about the type Super Battle Roads, but I'm assuming they're really easy as well, like the original Super Battle Roads. So I'm assuming he'll be pretty good in those as well. I'm moving on to Go Frieza or Goku and Frieza. Oh, pardon me. Um, uh, I've put them in A because I think they're better than Trunks and Mai actually, but they just don't have any defense. Well, they do have some defense, but the damage they output is crazy. They can get to, even before Link Level 10 update, they were hitting 7 million and stuff, and it annoys me because what in my global main account, I haven't pulled a new Tournament of Power unit, or Universe Survival Saga unit since Tech hit. So I don't have UI Goku, I don't have Kefla, I don't have Goku and Frieza, I don't have any of those new LRs on like either of my accounts, which is sort of weird. Even though that's like one of my most the most hype sagas, they just don't like me because I did some summons the other day and I decided to do some more, and I got 3 Android 17s, 3 multis in a row, and it just wasn't good. But now we're moving on to Frieza. Frieza, I think he can go above Goku and Frieza because he is sort of like similar to them in a way, in which he outputs a lot of damage, but I think he has better defense than Goku and Frieza and will be more consistent. So I think they're in similar realms. Now to the trio. The trio are also going to be, no, I think I'm going to put them low S tier because on their team they are dominant. They get to do so much damage. They have so much defense. They have K+4 in their leader skill, which is really good. But in saying this, they have limited categories, and I feel like they should be on hybrid Saiyans, even because like there's multiple Saiyans, and I feel like that should be how it works. But they're not. They're only in a few categories, and they only really shine alongside Dragon Ball Seekers units. So they're probably one of the more dominant units in the game when they're helped out, but they have to be helped out a decent amount in being in their own team. So they're not really useful in the shorter events and stuff like that. Well, they would be in the shorter events, but not in like things where you're running them as a unit on joint forces or something. You want to be using them on their own team. Super Baby 2, I think, actually has aged the best out of a lot of LRs because he was okay on launch, and I feel like he's only gotten better since. And I would put him above the GT trio because he's just so much more viable in other places. And his leader skill for artificial life forms is actually pretty good because even if you don't pull Tech Boo, you could run him as one of your leaders, and then Tech Boo, the exchange one, just coming at the end of the year for global, as the sub leader, or not sub leader, but like the other leader. And you can have like run double LR Baby, or you could run double exchange Boo, and he does a lot of damage, decent defense, but it's just really usable in a lot of areas. And his giant form obviously helps out that team a lot in the giant form Extreme Super Battle Road, as well as just being a good utility option for Super Battle Road, where you can just take a few turns off, and he does like the most damage out of any giant form. So he's really good. I haven't pulled him. I haven't put a lot of the legendary summon LRs, but I really would like this guy because I haven't done the giant Super Battle Road. Anyway, onto Gohan and Goten, which was the global first Goku Day LR last year. I am going to be controversial, and I think the SJ4s are better than Gohan and Goten. A lot of people might disagree with me here, but the reason I'm saying this is because I think the SJ4s are usable on all their teams, no matter who's on there, because they're key ability, and Gohan and Goten are the opposite. They need so much key and so much support, and they just need the whole team to be built around them in which the case will be dominant, but it's only very little times. So I've only seen them be very dominant a smaller, like a handful of times. Like there's been like 5 times I've seen them hit like 5 million attack stat, and then 4 million attack stat, and then like do triple super. So it's like you have to have the RNG and the team built around them. While SSJ4s, just chuck them on any team. They have really good defense, do output a lot of damage, and they're very consistent. So I prefer that consistency over the sort of, I don't know, I don't want to say lackluster, but like, I don't know, it's sort of there's sort of a weird card going and goes in because they only have one key link, so that also doesn't help the units around them as well. So these guys have I think a few key links like GT and stuff, and that's obviously helping the units around them. While this guy doesn't really benefit anyone else except himself. He's a very selfish unit. Kale and Caulifla. I'm gonna cut here for a second. I need a cough. And we are back. Sorry about that. I'm a bit sick. I know I've said that like a few videos in a row, but it's not getting. It's very long sickness. It's not very epic. But moving on to Kale and Caulifla. This might be a bit controversial, but I think they're in Z tier. Because recently with the link level update and alongside Kefla and stuff like that, I was using them on the private server on Trident. Obviously check Trident out. I was using them on there, and they were just hitting 5 million attack stat, 4 million attack stat, 3 million attack stat. So like Gohan and Goten, but it was guaranteed. Like it's not like, oh yeah, you have a chance. It's if you're versing a pure Saiyan, which for Cooler, everybody says this argument. So if you disagree with this argument, then you're disagreeing with Cooler being really good. Is against the pure Saiyan, like Universe Survival Saga, and I think there's one more. I can't remember because I don't have them personally. But from what I saw, like I was looking at a lot of these LRs in the private server, and these guys definitely impressed me the most. As well as they just gave so much key to everybody else that was just always super attacking. While with these guys, I always find myself not being able to super attack with some units for the first like 5 turns. On to Tech Broly. I'm gonna put Tech Broly low S. I think Tech Broly is really good in some situations, but I think you have to. It's in the shorter events, but he just doesn't have the defense. If he got that defense on the super attack, like let's say he got 150% defense, or he greatly raised his defense on super attack on top of getting all his stuff on super attack, he would be such a more consistent unit and better for Super Battle Road because on Super Battle Road he gets hit hard. Like he on category Super Battle Road, he's getting hit for like 30k, like per normal attack. But in saying this though, he can kill like half the enemy field in like one turn. If you get his 18 key, then you can kill like a few characters if it's like a 5-man. And obviously there's the thing where if you kill one character when there's multiple, and it gets him like extra super attacks, and it's sort of like a similar thing to Kale and Caulifla where it sort of triggers a certain thing in his passive to do more attacks. And obviously his active skill and transformation are really good, but I see this guy being used for Dokkan events and shorter events only. He's really dominant in there, but you're not using him on like Legendary Goku event, Extreme Super Battle Road, like things like that. But definitely for normal Super Battle Road, category Super Battlefield, and Dokkan events, a really dominant unit. LR Gohan. I think that Gohan is equal to, so I'm going to put him in the middle, equal to the SSJ4s. Everybody, there's like a big debate earlier, this year or last year, I can't remember, if Gohan or Goku is better. I think they're both equally good, because in the longer events, Gohan, I think, smashes everybody else. Obviously, he's one of the most defensive units in the game, but just with key at the start of some Dokkan events, Gohan can not get. Well, he still gets super attacks, but he just doesn't get the 18 keys as consistently as these two. So I think that they're all very good, but I think because Gohan's team is Kamehameha, and that's such a good team, it just needs a bit of support, and then it will be like best team in the game or second best team in the game. I think it slightly edges him out. If I had someone held a gun to my head and said who's better, Goku or Gohan, I may be a bit biased because I'm a Gohan fan, but I think I'd have to say Gohan just because of his team and all the categories he's on. He's so much more valuable of a unit because he has 13 categories, I think. While Goku, I think, has like 8 or 9 or something, which is still good. It's still a really good amount of categories. But just, he has 2 more than the second highest category unit in the game, which is just nuts. So he is just far and above one of the most valuable units to get in Dokkan. So if you have enough red coins and you don't have this guy, get this guy as soon as you can. He's a very good unit and will help you in a lot of events. Cell. Cell is probably the most controversial unit in Dokkan, because his transformation. Oh no, I don't know. Gohan is also very controversial, but Cell is also very controversial as well because of his transformation condition, which was had to be under 30% HP. And we are back. Sorry, I had to cough again there as well. Sickness not helping me out here in this video, but Cell has definitely gotten a lot better with the Link update. He was only hitting 1.8 million on 18 keys on his own team, so he wasn't hitting anywhere like significant for an LR. Like last year, if we did this tier list last year when he first came out, I would consider putting him in there, like, or maybe here. I would say that maybe he was on the same level as Fizz Perfect Cell. No, I wouldn't go that far, but he was very mid tier for an LR. And even when he was transformed, he wasn't even that amazing of a unit because his stuff activated after he supered, and it's like kind of weird. But he, after the link level update and all, like his links like Gentleman and things like that have gotten these big buffs. He is now hitting like 5 million attack stats, 200k defense, turn 1. So I'm gonna put him top of S tier. I was gonna put him low tier, low S plus tier, but I don't know if I can do that. But he definitely is high S tier. Better, I think he's on the same level as these 2 units, maybe even slightly better. But no, I think I'm gonna put him here because these guys' teams are much better than Cell Saga because it's doesn't have good key is like the problem with Cell Saga. Even though he's a 4 key leader, the team struggles for key and links, and is pretty lackluster of a team. All those guys' teams are obviously Portara. I'm gonna do this actually. Portara is just such a good team compared to Fusion and this that I think this guy would edge out a bit further than this guy just because of his leader skill and this guy as well. So definitely very close. So these 3 you could consider them as a single unit, where like the same level as good, like how good they are. Now onto the androids. I think androids are very underrated. People don't really talk about them that much, which is unfortunate because I think they're really good. Because they have dodge chance, they do a lot of damage and have a lot of defense. But compared to the newer LRs, they don't really stand up. I think that it's pretty fair. I think I'd put them above Baby. I think this is a good spot for the androids. Onto God Goku. God Goku, I'm not a big fan of God Goku, even though he's really good and he has like the dodge chance and he's really good for short events. He just loses basically his whole passive or all the things interesting about him after like the 9 turns. I think is it? I'm pretty sure it's 9 turns. I don't have him either, so I don't know exactly. But I've used him a little bit on the private server, and I would say that he's probably better than Broly because he's like better at shorter events. But I think he sits around the same level as GT Trio and Baby. I think that's pretty fair to say at least. Spirit Bomb absorbed Goku. I actually do have him on my main account. I got him first multi in this banner. This is very hype. I think it's fair to say that he's really good in short events. Probably one of the best units for short events because he does sealing, stunning. I don't know if there's sealing and stun. I don't know if he does stunning. I know he does sealing, lowering attack and defense, and greatly raising defense, as well as being an orb changer. And he deals a lot of damage. So definitely, I'd say he's more consistent than Gohan and Goten, even though he's a nuker, which just shows you how inconsistent, these units are if a nuker is more consistent than them. So definitely a high tier unit, S plus tier definitely. And we are back again. Sorry, I'm not being helped out at all by the sickness today. I'm just coughing all the time. I just don't want you guys to hear that, so I'm cutting a lot. But anyway, back to these big boys. They just released on global. People like to say that they're the best unit in the game. I definitely said that when they came out, and I was very much rooting for them to dethrone Kale and Caulifla, who were definitely the best unit at the time, before they came out. But I think they are slightly better than Kale and Caulifla. I think they're very. People would like to say there's a big gap between the Blue Fusions and Kale and Caulifla. On long events, I definitely say it's true, but offensive wise at least, and even sometimes defensive wise with Vegeta because he doubled defense raises. But I think Vegeta is better than Gogeta. I know a lot of people think Gogeta's better because he does so much damage and is super effective, but I just think the double defense raise is so much more important than the super effective. So I think the Vegeta is better than Gogeta, and then they're both better than Kale and Caulifla. Even though Kale and Caulifla are still ridiculously good, especially on their own team, Universe 6, and fighting certain enemies. But these guys, I feel like, are just less conditional. They don't need to be alongside a certain team. They're good on most of their teams that they're on, and they have pretty good link sets and stuff. So I think they're more of a consistent, not consistent. I don't want to say consistent. They get to their best easier than these guys get to their best. Because well, not their best, but they get to a higher like attack and defense number faster than these guys. In most settings. Obviously, if they're specialized, put in Universe 6 versus the Legendary Goku event, for example, I would say these guys are better, way better on Legendary Goku event just because of like the categories Goku's on and what team you're running them on. But overall, I think like these guys, you're gonna see their best more often than you're seeing these guys' best. Now to Rose. The truth said that he was the best unit when he came out. I didn't agree with that then. I don't agree with that now, but I still certainly think he's a top tier unit. But his defense is his only problem, obviously, and sometimes he can be lacking key wise because Extreme Realm of Gods needs to be built out a bit more before he becomes really optimal. And he's really good on Global because of the Fizz Goku Black, who supports him. But on JP, Fizz Goku Black is nowhere near as good, so it just hurts him a lot more. I think he is probably at the same level as the androids, maybe slightly better than the androids. I think I'd say I think I'm pretty sure that's a good place to put him. Definitely still one of the best LRs in the game. Hits 6 million attack stats turn 1. Just only need a little bit more defense, or just like a bit better key links, or just something else. He just needed a little bit more, and he could have been easily up here next to Spirit Bomb Goku because like they're very similar units, Spirit Bomb Goku and Goku Black. In terms of being very high tier nukers. But Goku does his thing way better and way more consistently than Goku Black does his thing. Okay, the trio. The Broly trio, Broly, Chilla, and Lemo. No, I don't want to drag them there. I think they are very good, but it's really hard for them to look really good. It's because they can support that because a lot of their thing, like a lot of their kit revolves around supporting, and it's really hard to make a support unit look as good as a unit that's doing 6 million attack stats, super effective against all type, or one that's doing 6 million attack stat and then a 4 million additional attack stat with a possibility of doing another 4 million additional attack stat, and having like 100 and something K defense. It's really hard to make this unit look like one of these just, well, I don't want to say like caveman big strong units, but like they're just the stronger units. It's hard to make them because they don't get a higher attack stat unless you give them a lot of orbs, and people know that that's obviously only really going to happen if you have orb changes sometimes, or if you used items. But I feel like because these guys are so useful in so many situations, like you can either make them do more damage if you need to finish off a phase faster of a boss or of a unit in Super Battle Road, or if you need to dodge every single attack and like that's coming at them while getting 7 key spheres, or getting more attack and defense, or lowering the enemy's attack, or greatly raising your defense, or raising your allies' defense. They just do so much, and they can do so much, but it requires much more of a strategic like outlook on playing the game, and you need to be much more careful with your things you do, and it's really hard to make them look good. But just because of all the stuff they do and how good they can be for the shorter events, I'm gonna actually put them alongside Rose. I feel like Rose's probably better, but I think it may be actually there next to the trio androids. I feel like it's a very fair spot to put them. They're really good, but it's hard. It's just like hard to use them, and it's sometimes there's a lot of RNG, but they're really fun to use. I use them on the private server, but I haven't got them unfortunately because I really would like to get them because they seem really fun. A Nappa and Vegeta. These guys came out and people immediately said, "Oh yeah, these guys are like F tier. They're like, oh, like they're worse than the thing. They're like, oh, they're worse than Broly. They're like horribly bad, and they're just unusable and blah blah blah." And they were basically like pooped on. I'm not going to say the other word. But they were pooped on from the very beginning in terms of what people thought of them. But I actually think they are better than a lot of people say. I think Vegeta is pretty good. He's pretty good defensively and outputs a lot of damage. Because of his super effective, and we can't like discredit like that super effective, as well as Nappa's AoE and the dodge, guaranteed dodge. Even though I don't think they're very top tier, I would I don't know if I'm wrong to say this, but I think they're better than this Broly, or like slightly the same similar level to this Broly, especially because of how good they are in World Tournament. But I feel like people definitely undersell this unit, and the animations for this unit are godlike. I just, ugh. By the way, I feel like I mentioned with Broly and Chile, they're another reason why they're so low down. Well, not low down, but um, not as high as they could be, is because they're only on like 3 categories, and the main one that they're on, like the one that you're using them on the most time, is movie bosses, and they just don't share that many good links with movie boss characters, and it doesn't really make sense that they're a movie boss. But Paragus and Broly are movie bosses, even though Broly is like basically a good guy in his base state. Like this is good Broly when he's like not angry, and this is Chile who's like a good person, and his Lemo is a good person, but they're an extreme movie boss unit. And Paragus, who led Broly to be like a angry Saiyan who like learned to fight from like a young age, as well as Broly himself, aren't a boss of a movie. Just it should be movie villains, like the truth says all the time, but like it just doesn't really make much sense for them. Now onto UI Goku. I didn't get UI Goku. I went like 1,000 stones deep, and I didn't go my way with him, which is fine. I'll get him with coins, but I think he is definitely here. Well, as we still have a few units to go, but I think being good at shorter events is more important than being good at longer events. The reason I say this, like in relation to these guys, not these guys, is because they're very similar in what they do, in terms of like in like with categories and everything. This guy's better in some parts, this guy's better in some parts, but it evens out. But um, I feel like Goku does more, not in because he is still very viable in long-term events, and uh, even though he loses 20% of his dodge and goes in the 50, that's still a lot of dodge chance, and you're gonna have like 140k defense. That's like a good unit. That is like similar to Waste. Like that's a very good unit, and he also is on a lot of categories. I wish he did something on his super attack effect though, instead of just whatever it's called. I can't even remember because it's such a useless effect. That's probably the only bad part about this guy, but otherwise he can hit like 3 million attack stats turn 1 if he dodges a lot of attacks in the first slot. And then he can also not take any damage if he dodges attacks in the first slot, while these guys can take like 100k in category SBR or like stuff like that. And anybody can do the Goku event in Infinite Dragon Ball history if they put together a team of like defensive stackers, like Gohan or whatever. If you have a team of defensive stackers, you can do any long event. The hard part of Dokkan is doing the SBRs, and the fact that Goku is so dominant in any SBR makes him more viable as or more valuable, I should say, as a unit to have, because these guys are cool. Obviously, I'm not saying they're not cool and good. They're definitely very good. Obviously, they're only one of the few units in Z tier. I think they're extremely good. But the simple fact is that this guy, you can already do the legendary Goku event probably, unless you're a new player. You can already do that. So these guys, they're cool to have and they're definitely fun to use. But what are they? They might help you out in the few stages of Super Battle Road, but you're going to be rotating them off the whole time. They're not like as helpful. Like, because I'm assuming a lot of people haven't done a lot of the SBR stages, and Goku can really help out in a lot of them. Because he's in Universe Survival Saga, he's on Pure Saiyans, he's on Realm of Gods, he's in Goku Family, which is a new one which came out recently. Like, he's on so many. He's also on Representatives of Universe 7, which also came out recently on JP. And he can help, I feel like, a player that's struggling in SBR more than he can help players that aren't struggling in the Legendary Goku event. And that's just my opinion. Obviously, you guys might think differently. Obviously, these guys' leader skill is probably better than Goku's, I would say. Maybe. I don't know. I feel like it's on par. Because even though it's on a full-on 170, 130 buff or 150 across the board, he still is a Realm of Gods lead. And what Key plus 4 is kind of underrated as a leader skill. So what you could do, if you're running a full Realm of Gods team, like that I was saying, like super class Saiyans, what you can do is you can run this guy as your friend lead, run like old UI Goku as your actual lead, then run another one of like no, not run old UI Goku, but run like Beerus or something as your actual lead. This is your friend lead, and then this guy on your team as well. So you can have two UI Gokus, but still have the full buff. And on this guy's team, you can use these two. On these two's, like on these guys' team, you can't use this guy. And that just makes you think, oh, well, if this guy's team can use all of them, then wouldn't that make his team better? And I think Realm of Gods is better than Last Resort. So I think he is more valuable of a unit. And now onto these guys, which they're very up to debate. People really don't know where to rank them. I think this might probably really be the most controversial thing I place them on the tier list, which is I think they are better than the Blue Fusions. I know this is I don't even know what to say this is, but I know it's like treason basically to the Dokkan community to put them above the Blue Fusions. But as I was saying with you, Goku, being better in the shorter events is more important than being better in the longer events. And Goku and Vegeta, they lower attack, they greatly raise defense, and even though they only have one key link, which is sort of selfish like these guys, it's a better key link, and they have better other links than like these two down here. And I think they're just like a much better version of Gohan and Goten. And they're much more usable in shorter events because they have no build up. They're turn 1, bam, they're here. Blue Fusions, they don't get good, I would say, till turn 7 or 6. And you're not going to hit turn 7 or 6 in Extreme Super Battle Road where the enemies have such low health pools. And these guys can help reduce the enemy's damage, raise their defense, and they have their active skill, and all their animations look really good. The active skill is probably my favorite animation in the game, and they can just do so much in the shorter events in terms of helping other people by lowering attack, as well as doing a bunch of additionals which can crit, and then give them more additional supers which will also lower attack again and raise their defense. And I feel like even though they're a bit RNG, I think they're better in the long run. And their team is very underrated. I don't think it's as good as Last Result as Realm of Gods, but Joined Forces is a very good team. And like it has these guys on here, it has these guys down here, it has like these two down here, it has these guys up here, these guys. It has a lot of the top tier units has Joined Forces on it. And I can't remember the other team. It's like All Out or something. I think that's like the translation, which isn't great, but it still gives them more options. And their team is definitely not as good as these guys. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying it's still really good. And I think just comparing what they do to these guys, I think they're slightly edge out. But you could also say that they're on an equal. These guys are way closer, I think, to these guys in terms of how good they are compared to this guy, which I think is like better, clearly better than these three, than these four. Now Jiren. I think I don't even have to say what Jiren's best unit in the game. Jiren is best unit in the game. He can hit 5 million attacks at turn 1, 200k defense. Like, what more do you want than that? 200k defense, turn 1, and like, he can be super effective against old types like Gogeta, except there's no build up. It's instantaneous. You just need to lower their defense, which instantly happens if you have Toppo on the rotation with him, who by chance is a great linking partner and is on the team that he leads, which is, by the way, one of the best teams in the game, Universe Survival Saga, which is like has so many good units on it now. 4 of the top 5 units and 6 units in the game I have on here are Universe Survival Saga, and it gives extra buffs to Universe 11. Like I think it's like 170 across the board, and Universe 11 has good units like God Topo ZZA, this guy obviously, and the Pride Troopers unit, and they're so cohesive, and he's just such a monstrous like beast of a unit that can insta kill like so many units in SBR. Like in SBR, he can insta kill because he does what Gogeta does, except instantly. And he doesn't raise his defense on super, which is bad, but he gets that defense in his passive, so he doesn't need a super before becoming tanky. He's already a tank. And his active skill, and he gets bonus key for being hit, even if you do get hit, which is very rare because he just kills everything. And if you do get hit a amount of times, he has an active skill where he buffs his defense attack and lowers the enemy's like attack and defense, I think, as well. So you can instantly get his super effective things anyway, and it has like no turn restriction. So he's just he's just like, there's a significant gap here. Like I would put a whole tier. Like I can't want to do, like I don't know how to do this, but no, that's definitely what I meant to do. But I don't know. Can I like add another tier? Can I add a row? Yeah, add a row above, and it's called, yeah, and it's called Jiren. This is the tier list. This is because this is what it is right now. And Universe Survival Cycle will only get better. Same as Realm of Gods as well, and like maybe Last Resort and stuff as well. Every team in here will get better, but Jiren's team is going to get better soon because I think Year 6 is going to be Universe Survival Saga. So this guy's about to have the whole everybody top tier, like top 10 units on his team, and like it's gonna be nuts. And if you don't agree with Jiren, then I feel like you're just wrong. You can disagree with anything on this tier list. That's fine. I'm completely fine with that. But if you disagree with Jiren being the best unit in the game, you're just wrong. Sorry if that sounded very hostile, but this is my final tier list. If you guys, obviously have your own, or you want to swap one or two around, definitely leave your things in the comment down below. I'm just looking through this as we finish up, just to make sure that I haven't, I feel like I'm going to do this actually before we end. I think that's good. Yeah. So this is my final tier list, and hope you guys enjoyed the video. I enjoyed tier list. If you guys want to see it, maybe one for TURs or free-to-play LRs, because these are only summonable LRs, obviously. But if you want to see any other tier lists or any other videos, make sure to like, subscribe, the comment down below, obviously. And I don't know if notifications, like if you guys want those really, then you can press it. I don't really care. I don't really care if you don't like the video anyway. If you want to, or if you feel like it, definitely go down there and do that. And thanks everybody for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.